That's funny. Morning, everyone. Good morning to you all. I'm sure some people will join me shortly, I hope. And I'm planning to answer a few questions, just go through some questions. There are some topics I'm sure people will want to discuss, and I'm just going to sort of take the questions and see what you'd like to ask about. There's certainly, I'm planning, just so you know, I'm planning to release a video over the next couple of days, 2 videos actually, tomorrow and Monday. One will be with regard to the Muslim ban and DV 2017 to DV 2020 people. I may talk about that briefly now, but I want to do a special video on that so that people get a clear message. And the second one is in relation to DS260 submission, people that are struggling to submit their DS260s. So morning Zena, morning Mohammed, thank you for the welcome back, that's lovely. So yeah, that's what I wanted to go through. So I'm here. Yeah, Hamza, you're always telling me off for not coming online. I apologize, Hamza. Maybe I should just give you my phone number and I'll be more available to you. Okay, so I'm just going to jump straight into questions. Okay, so Razul, is it okay to ask KCC to update my status on document confirmation? My case number is current. You don't ask them to update your status. You ask them whether they're happy with the documents that you've sent. I suggest people 2 things about documents. Number 1, I think everybody should send their documents. A lot of people will ask me, I'm sure I'm going to be asked today, should I send my documents? I'm case number whatever. Everybody should send their documents now, right? Number 2, if you have sent your documents and you haven't had the confirmation, there's no harm in you emailing KCC and saying, are you satisfied with the documents that you've sent me? I think your email will prompt a reaction. Either they come back to you and they send you the standard email saying, we've received your DS260 and you'll shortly receive a question to send in documents, which means that they either don't have your documents at all, right? That you think you sent the documents, but they don't have them. Or they have them, but they're stuck in the other department, and the department that answers the emails don't know that they're being processed. That's possible. Or they're just frankly trying to fob you off with a silly response. So for you in particular, Rasul, email them and ask them, are they satisfied with your documents? Say it like that. Are you satisfied with the documents? Don't forget, whenever you communicate to KCC, you need to include your full case number with the leading zeros. So if your case number is 2021 Africa 12345, your case number is actually 2021 AF 0000122345. Include that full number, right? Include the name of the principal applicant, the full name of the principal applicant, and the full date of birth. If you don't give those 3 pieces of information exactly in the way I just said, then they will not respond to you properly. Okay, so make sure you do that. All right. Hi, Bundix. How you doing? Pleased to see you. Welcome to you in Romania, Emanuela. Okay, so talk about above 500 cases from Asia. Above 500 cases. What does that mean? Case numbers above 500. I don't really understand what that question is. Solomon, good morning to you. Nice to see you. Can you play the DV while in the USA? Yes, people often ask this. Can I play? I'm living in country B. I'm from country A, living in country B. Can I play from here? Yeah, they don't care where you play from. It's not important where you play from. What's important is that you put the right birth country down. So if you were born in country A, no matter where you're living today, you're eligible through your birth country, not the place you're living today. So you can apply from USA or anywhere else in the world. You apply from Mars. It doesn't matter as long as there's Wi-Fi on Mars. You're golden. What's the update on the lawsuit and the new passport rule? Okay, so excellent. The update on the lawsuit on the new passport rule. I don't think there's any lawsuit that seeks to challenge the new passport rule. There shouldn't be, because the instructions were very, very clear. They gave plenty of notice. I don't think there should be a lawsuit. I haven't heard of a lawsuit about challenging the passport rule. If you didn't follow the bloody instructions about having a passport, then I'm sorry. I'm lost. I don't understand why people don't think the rule applied to them. I don't understand that. Right? Read the instructions. If you chose not to give your passport because you didn't have your passport, etc., knowing full well that you were not supposed to participate, then it's not going to work out well. I think actually on those cases, KCC is sort of blocking those cases. People have submitted their documents, and of course, there's no correct document for the passport at the time of the entry. And so KCC are writing back saying, we don't have enough information about you. You need to give us more information about why you considered yourself exempt at the time of the DV lottery entry. Give us proof that you were exempt, because you claimed an exemption. You claimed to be from a communist country that didn't have, that wouldn't give you a passport. And if the reason instead was just that it was inconvenient for you to get the passport or expensive or whatever else, then sorry, that's not like being from a communist country, and therefore you were not entitled to claim that exemption. So by asking you to prove while you then say, well, I'm sorry, you haven't provided enough information to get scheduled for interview. So whilst it's true that KCC don't refuse cases, they could choose not to schedule cases that have not proved that they are ready to be interviewed. So that's possible. Akaki, good morning. I don't particularly have some good news. There's been a lot going on over the last week, so I'm expecting people to ask about it. But what about 2020, Simone? DV 2020. Simone, by the way, is a girl's name. I'm clearly not a girl. But anyway, I that's fine. DV 2020 is going to have to wait for the outcome of the Gomez case. All of the people that were issued in September have been well treated now. It took a little bit of time, as I predicted, by the way. I mean, people a day after they were allowed to travel, people were frustrated that they were being stopped at airlines, etc. They weren't properly prepared. That was all crazy, and I was surprised that some of the lawyers argued about, or not argued, but made drama about that. I thought that was a bit daft, really. It was just a matter of waiting. But so people that had visas issued in September are all covered, and they've even got an extension. You all know that. People that were not covered and reissued or issued a visa in September have to wait for the outcome of the Gomez case, right? And that does include, by the way, people who were previously denied in DV 2020 from being in a Muslim banned country. Only DV 2020. It does not apply to DV 2017 to 2019. Okay, so the Gomez case is what you need to wait for. Case number is AF35K from Egypt, visa bulletin for May. Do you think I have a chance? I have no idea. I'm not doing predictions. Anyone that does a prediction right now is a bloody idiot, frankly. You're not paying attention if you think that this year can be predicted. So I'll explain, perhaps there's a third video I need to do. I have done an explanation in the past about how the visa bulletin moves once they're getting feedback. And this is not the same for the last few months up until this month, because they're not getting feedback really. They were just moving the visa bulletin a little bit. But essentially, they make enough numbers available in the visa bulletin each month to create enough cases that are ready for scheduling that can be interviewed, right? Now, the problem that we have in the system at the moment is that they've moved the visa bulletin on quite nicely. That's a good thing, right? And everyone's excited about that, and that's great. However, as more and more people send their documents in, because I think we're very behind on document processing. So as more and more people send documents in, people whose case numbers were already current in previous months or now will be needing to be interviewed, and that will take the majority of visa bulletin numbers or progression. And so what we could see in that case, if KCC rapidly process documents being submitted to them now, we'll see a slowdown of the visa bulletin. Okay, it won't progress as fast as it has been. Now, I don't know for sure that that's going to happen because I don't know at what speed they're going to be processing documents. But if they process documents fast, that's going to work against us for visa bulletin progression. If, on the other hand, they adopt the view that, oh, look, we've hardly got any cases that need scheduling because people are not sending in their documents or they haven't submitted their DS-260, then the visa bulletin will continue to move fast and possibly even go current, right? Because in KCC's perspective, if not a lot of people send in their DS-260s or documents, it's as if people are not interested in getting their green cards, and therefore the numbers can move faster. It's a little confusing. I've made a video about it before, but I think it's worth an update. So I'll probably do an update over the next few days on that. Movie night. Yes, it was. How did you know? I just moved some popcorn. It was movie night for me. Hi, Simon. My case number is 23920, and when will I be scheduled? Alvin, I don't know. Firstly, you didn't tell me what year. You didn't tell me what region, and then I'm not predicting anything. So, all in all, that was not a successful question. Jay Tommy, I have a question. If they accepted my documents and I got the congratulations email that I'm waiting for the interview, does that mean that everything is okay? It means that you'll get an interview. Does that mean everything is okay? I don't know. I don't know whether you followed the instructions on your case. So Jay Tommy, I mean, don't assume everything is okay until the visa is in your hand. Okay, I've said that for years, for a number of years, and in the last few months or the last year, even that looked like bad advice because people had the visa in their hand and they were still stuck in Mexico or stuck, not being able to enter America. So, the lottery process is certainly not something you want to say, oh, I won the lottery, I'm going to go and sell my car and my house and I'm going to resign from my job. Don't do that until you're sure that you can enter. So that means when you've got the visa in your hand, okay? Oh, Kojo, that's nice. That's great. Hello, Winnie. Winnie, are you? Yeah. Well, I've seen you before. I'm quite sure. I'm trying to remember if what question you had before. My wife are in North Dakota now from Liberia. Holy cow, you're in North Dakota. You must be freezing your butt off. I'm thrilled for you. Did you go, Siddiqui? Did you go to the church? There's a church in North Dakota that is offering to help people with the sort of the initial process. They're offering to host people for a couple of months and that sort of thing. It's a generous, kind offer. I've talked about it before on the channel. I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name now. I apologize to him if he's listening, but I've forgotten the ministry's name and his name. And I think I annoyed him because I was pointing out that I have a couple of reservations about that particular thing. Number one is North Dakota. It's a bloody freezing cold place. I can't imagine going from Africa to such a place that's so cold. I mean, amazing, right? I couldn't stand it. Secondly, the economy in the particular place where he was, which was, I think, just south of Fargo, something Springs. Anyway, in the economy in that area, it led to cheaper housing, no doubt, but there was also low wages and relatively high unemployment. I don't personally feel that that's a good choice for an immigrant. It's a personal decision. I live in a very expensive area, and but I could go outside, throw a stone, and I'd find a job. Right, I'd hit someone who wants to hire me. Right, it's like that where I live. Wages are very high. There are engineers similar to me earning well over $200,000 and $300,000 a year. in this area, right? Whereas if you go to other areas, you might be earning 50,000 as an engineer, a software engineer. You might be earning 100,000 in some areas of the country, but quite frankly, I would rather earn 200,000 or 300,000 here, even though it's more expensive to live, right? And I guess this sounds. I don't want to appear arrogant or cocky, but at some point I have to explain the difference of what that means. If you earn more money and your house is more expensive, then some things that you buy in life just don't seem expensive. So I just bought a brand new car, and I am absolutely against people buying brand new cars, by the way. I don't think people should buy brand new cars. I think they're a horrible waste of money. However, I wanted a car, and I'm 56 years old. I earn plenty of money, and even though I bought an expensive car, it represents a very small amount against my income or against my assets in terms of my house and other savings, etc. It's a very small amount of my money, right? Now, I wouldn't be in that position if I worked elsewhere in the country, where I was earning only, let's say, 100,000 a year. So although I live in a very expensive area, and I therefore have to, have an expensive house and all this sort of thing, it also means that I'm able to afford to buy a nice toy when I want it. I wanted a Jeep Wrangler, I bought a Jeep Wrangler. So you've got to sort of weigh that up. If I was living in a poorer area, I might struggle to buy, a used car when I needed one. Now, there's nothing wrong with used cars. My car previous to that was a 10 or 11-year-old Mercedes, and it's a beautiful car, and I still love it. I'm just about to sell it, but nothing wrong with that car, right? People are mad about cars, but the point is, so there's nothing wrong with having an older car, but it's nice to be able to be earning the money and just say, okay, well, it's an expensive car, but it represents 2 or 3 months' wages. Who cares, it's just difference. Anyway, Siddiqui, that's a digression there, but do let me know if you're with that church organization. Marlene, I haven't got the interview for DV 2020 yet. What will happen with me? You'll have to wait until the Gomez case outcome, which is now going to be in April, by the way. So that's the same question, Hannah. Same question for you, right? Same answer. What do you do if your number is in the visa bulletin, but you still don't receive the emailed documents? Send your documents, right? No, nobody needs to be asking me this anymore. I said a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, send your documents. So everybody should be sending their documents. I might hesitate to send the documents if I was Africa 85,000. But if you've already sent your DS-260, you may as well send your documents. So just send them in, right? Everybody, send the documents. Hello, Penny. Charbel. Case number is current. When should I expect KCC to email me about the interview, or if they're satisfied? If they haven't told you that they're satisfied with your documents, you won't get an email to say, here's your interview date. So you need to ask them, are they satisfied with your documents? Okay. Oliver, 48K in Ethiopia, Africa. Let me send my document. Send your documents. Everybody should send their documents. What do I think of AF 12311? It's already current. Why ask me that? Jeremiah, your number is already current. Your number is unimportant now. You're already current. So there's no point in asking me about your case number because you're current already. So everybody that is current is the same now. Hi, Britt, what do you do if your number is in the visa bulletin, but you still didn't receive? I think you just asked me for it. Yeah, and I said, contact them. Oh dear, we're going to have someone who's going to ask a billion times, are we? Yeah, I see you have. Please don't do that. It annoys me and it annoys everybody else. Don't repeat your question over and over again. Okay. Hi, current comment. Okay, Messines. Why is the government fighting enunciator lawsuit since it just asked for each case to be eligible? So I think it's funny that people ask me, and I had one like this the other day. people ask me, why are the lawyers still fighting? Why are they still arguing, right? Because they're lawyers. That's what they do for a living. It's like, have you ever been to a soccer match, a football match, as they call it in Europe, right? Which is supposed to last, what, 90 minutes? And 75 minutes in, it's obvious that the second team, one team is going to lose. They're 4-0 down and they're crap. Do the players walk off the pitch? No, they continue to play soccer even though they're crap, right? Same thing with the government's lawyers. They're not arguing well, but they're arguing because that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do, right? And until they are told by the Biden administration to literally stop arguing and just give in, which is unlikely, because that's not how things work. Until they're specifically told to do that, they will continue to do their jobs. They will continue to have the legal arguments to try and make sure that that in the future they're not facing case law that is against them because they failed to argue in this particular case. So they will continue to try and make those arguments. Don't blame them for it. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. And luckily, we've got better lawyers, and so we're going to win, right? And also, not only do we have better lawyers, but we've got Trump administration policies and procedures that were just awful, badly implemented, etc., really badly written, and very easy to challenge. So don't worry about lawyers doing their job. How do you add a newborn baby after sending the DS-260? You email KCC, making sure you give them the full case number, your name, and your full case number, name, and date of birth. You ask to unlock your form. You'll modify your own DS-260 to add the child to your DS-260 and that of your spouse. You unlock your spouse's form as well. And then you create a DS-260 for the child, okay? You need to do that. Everybody that wants a green card has to have a DS-260. Armand, any perspective on DV 2021 interviewing start? Yeah, it started. There's cases already being adjudicated. It's great. I was pleased that they did Algeria interviews for March. I thought that was exceptional, and I thank the Algerian US Embassy for that, but KCC also for helping. I thought it was great that they sent out 2NLs for April interviews in the early part of March. I considered those to be February 2NLs, right? They would normally have been sent out. The April interviews would have had 2NLs sent out to them at the end of February. So in very early March, like about the 4th of March or something like that, they started to send those 2NLs for April interviews. I'm very grateful that they did that. I thought that was excellent. And they got about 800 2NLs sent out, which is about 1,600 people. Every case includes the selectee and the derivative, right? Remember, so on average, they've set it up to get about 1,600 people through the system in April. That's good. It's not great. It's not as good as it should have been, but it was a good effort. And then in March, I'm hoping that we'll see a lot more 2NLs, which will be, they could come out as soon as Monday or Tuesday, right? And we'll probably see 2 batches of 2NLs. But we need to see a lot of 2NLs. So I spoke with Zarthisius. We took the extract of the data yesterday, which he's put on his site, to exactly capture all of the people that got April interviews. And then we'll take another extract at the end of this month to see all of the people that got interviews for May. Okay, so I think it's really good. Amand, don't repeat the same question multiple times, please. Who's that? Okay. For the interviewers, it must have I-134 or DS-5540. DS-5540 is not used anymore, so don't have that one. The I-134, I always suggest people get it. You'll be staying with a friend and you have money in your account in your home country to support yourself in the US. If you have a lot of money in your account, your home bank account, and you're prepared to show evidence of that, and it's really it's your money, not just BS, then that can sometimes be enough to convince the consular officer that you're not going to become a public charge. But if you're unsure at all, having an I-134 from somebody that you know in the USA who earns enough money that's a guaranteed way to get it accepted on that particular, on the financial concerns, right? So I personally recommend having the I-134. Yassine, what are the international vaccines we need to get before the interview? The physician that you go to see before your interview will decide what vaccinations you need to have. They will know, either because you'll tell them or you'll provide proof, or because they know the area. They will know roughly which vaccines you've already had, and they will be prepared to administer additional vaccinations if you need it. So I personally wouldn't do vaccinations prior to the medical appointment, because if you tried to go down a list, you would get a vaccination. For example, one of the things is the flu shot. The flu shot is seasonal. They don't always give you the flu shot. It depends what time of year you have your interview and whether there's flu conditions in your country or not. So that's one extra jab that you really don't need for most of the year. So if you tried to pre-prepare by having those vaccinations done prior to the interview, you'd probably have additional vaccines that wouldn't make sense to have. So just leave it until the physician tells you what you need. Okay. When can we say someone's case is current? They're current when an individual case is current when the visa bulletin number for their region or the country, if they're like in Nepal, Iran, or Egypt, where there's an accept. But if your case number is less than the published number in the visa bulletin, then you're current. That's what it means. Quite simple there. Satindu, I got a question. I got married in January after getting my visa in September and after the DV 2020 year. Since there are reserve visas, is there any possibility that you can get DV visa for your wife, or should I go through the usual process? I personally would not suggest you try and do that. It's going to be complex. You've already been adjudicated. You were adjudicated at the right time. You don't normally add on a case. So no, personally, I think number one, you should have got married before you interviewed. That would have been much smarter. If you fell in love after you had your green card already, okay, fair enough. But generally speaking, if you know you're going to get married, then marry before your interview. Marry before you even submit your DS-260 or your documents. Marry early. People, screw this up all the time. But the position you're in now really is use your visa to enter the USA, and then you'll have to sponsor your spouse later. It will take about 2 years, and that's why I suggest people do everything first. Amand, you're going to drive me nuts. Aref, regardings from Iran. That's nice. What do you think about bans? Can it cause a problem? Any suggestion? Iranian but living in the EU. Okay, so this brings me to a topic that I assume somebody right by now would have asked about. But so the Schengen and similar bans, right? So there are 14-day bans or restrictions. I prefer to call them restrictions to make the point that they are not actual bans. They're not. They're restrictions. They're a nuisance. They're a travel restriction, and you can work around them by, if you've got your visa, you can go around them by going to a third country, right? Now, at the moment, however, as you well know, Aref, and others will know, there are embassies who are not having visa appointments because of the Schengen area bans, right? So what they're saying is, because you can't use the visa, we're not going to issue the visa. Now, we've had lawsuits, I think 5 lawsuits now, where in all 5 cases, the judges have ordered that behavior, not issuing a visa because it can't be used, is wrong. It's illegal. However, the government continued to do it. So it needs to be challenged. Now, it is being challenged in the Annunciato case for DV 2021. But I emailed Chuck this morning, actually. I don't know if he's... no, he's not online. So there is a lawsuit being put together by Curtis Morrison that seeks to help people. Now, it's almost a guaranteed win, I would say, because it's very clear the law is not on the government side on this one. They should not be delaying interviews for the sake of just because people are not able to travel directly from Paris or wherever to the USA. They should not be acting the way they are acting, and therefore the lawsuit that Curtis Morrison is about to will file at the end of this month, is an almost guaranteed win, right? I think the same thing can be said for Annunciato. The difference between those two things is that if you have $3,000 to spare, and that's what it is, it's $3,000, which I think that's not a small amount of money. But if you're in Europe, maybe that's not too bad, right? This also goes for people who live in the UK or South Africa or any of the other places, Brazil, any of the places that are affected by those travel restrictions, right? So if you want to spend $3,000 on becoming a client of Curtis Morrison in that lawsuit, you will win. It's not. I don't doubt that for a minute. The government is behaving idiotically. However, you'll win in two ways, because number one, you'll win and you'll get an adjudication of your case, and you'll get issued if your case can be issued. But number two, if you've submitted your DS-260 and you have not submitted your documents, or you haven't been told that you're ready for scheduling, I think being on that lawsuit will actually help that. I think what will happen is that the list of plaintiffs will be treated with high priority. They will not be treated with high priority compared to their case number. I mean, if they're not current, they can't go on that lawsuit. That's basically what Curtis Morrison is saying, and he's correct, because it is not possible to force the government to have your interview when you're not current. But if you're current, and the only thing holding you back is the fact that your documents have not been processed, or the Schengen ban is applying to you, then that Curtis Morrison lawsuit could help you. I think the same thing is going to happen in Annunciato. I think that same thing will happen, and nobody needs to pay for that. And it's possible that the Schengen area restrictions are removed anyway soon. But if you are the sort of person that believes in that it's okay to pay $3,000 and jump the line kind of thing, then that's what we're talking about. I mean, that literally is what we're talking about. If you pay that money, you're almost certainly going to be processed and interviewed faster than if you didn't do that. So Curtis, 100% certain. It's 100% certain Curtis knows how to win that case. Every lawyer that's tried to do that has won that particular type of action. So I'm, like I say, I'm absolutely certain that will work for people, and it's really a personal decision whether you can afford the money or not. What happens when all cases go current? All cases go current when there are enough visas to meet remaining demand, right? So it sounds like it'll be total chaos, but it only really is supposed to happen when there are a small amount of cases left. At the moment, those conditions don't exist. There are way too many people waiting, and many of them want to be processed, etc. Many of them want to be interviewed. So I would, even though the visa bulletin is moving fast, I think we're going to see. I'm still not convinced we're going to see current, to be honest. But anyway, I don't want to predict 2021 because I think it's unpredictable. The reality is I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. DV 2022 from Sierra Leone. Is there any chance for me to win? It's a lottery. Anyone can win. Julie, hello. I don't know if I'm traumatized by still watching videos. So make sure you're safe. Julie, you're safe. That's always weird you were coming back. I'm like, why are you here, Julie? You're fine. You're fine, and you're doing beautifully well, and you've got a great life ahead of you. You're very safe. No problems there. I answered that one earlier. Scooper Jesse. What a great name. Hi, Brett. Have you seen the possible increase of the visas? Fantastic news. Okay. So, no, it won't apply to DV 2022. It's not a law yet. It's part of the immigration bill. So it's a suggested bill. There's actually a good chance that that immigration bill gets some traction, gets some movement, but it won't happen yet. And it certainly won't happen quickly enough to increase the numbers for DV 2022. Certainly not. Probably not even fast enough to increase the numbers for DV 2023. Okay, but certainly not 100% certain that it won't affect DV 2022. Okay. Nada, heard that they're sending 2NL for Egypt. Anybody know anything? Yeah, I hadn't heard about Egypt, but we do have all the data. So you could check on CRO, Cairo Embassy, on the Zarthisius website and see if they have, see if they've got interviews scheduled. Do they have to provide interviews for all current people by law? No, they don't. I see this constantly. In fact, I even heard one of the lawyers the other day say something that's categorically wrong, and it's one of the lawyer names that we know. He said that all cases are current on the beginning, documented. I can't remember his wording. Documentarily, no, it wasn't that. His wording gave the impression that the visa bulletin was secondary to people being eligible for interview or not, which is absolute nonsense. The reality is that the government do not have to make all cases current, right? They don't have to make numbers current, and the having to provide interviews for all current people, that's not true. If you haven't submitted your DS-260, if you haven't submitted your documents, then you're not going to get processed. And unfortunately, whilst we can argue and have successfully argued that all cases that are documentarily qualified, there's a nuance about this, should be adjudicated, that's now a two-step process. And so it's arguable that DS-260 submission by itself should mean that you're documentarily qualified, and that's how the lawyers take it, and they're correct. That's fine. But the reality, the practical reality, is that unless you can get your documents approved, also you will not be scheduled. Right? So whether you're current or not, you have to get your documents approved. Now, if in a lawsuit, if you're a named plaintiff, they'll turn that on its head a little bit, and they'll say, well, the DS-260 was submitted and processed, and if the documents are not processed, it doesn't matter. You've got to work with the candidate, the selectee, to process their documents, right? So they'll turn that around a little bit, which is one of the advantages of a lawsuit. So but no, you're not guaranteed or guaranteed to get the interview by law. And don't forget, immigration is a privilege, it's not a right. So they don't have to approve you. You can have an interview, but you're not necessarily going to be approved. Armand, please stop spamming. Absolutely, Armand. That's I hope. Oh my God, I can see you've asked the same question a million times. Chase Dream, I have 3 mail from KCC until December, but no 2NL. What can be the reason? But no 2NL. Have they told you that your documents are processed? That's one reason. Kathmandu embassy, I don't think are actually interviewing people yet. I don't know why they're not, because according to people on the ground there, the COVID situation isn't bad. But for whatever reason, they're not doing that yet. I wish they would start soon. We'll see. Maybe they will. The EU visa bulletin was around 18K. I'm 20K in Europe. Sent your documents. Well, I mean, you've got good chances if you sent in your documents correctly. You have a chance. Now, of course, if you're in Europe, you've got the Schengen ban to consider. That might be removed. But you'll have to sort of wait and see what happens with that, or loose lawsuits about that, the Annunciator lawsuit, or I'm quite sure that Curtis Morris, if the Schengen ban stays in place, Curtis Morrison will probably open up new ranges of numbers each month and add people onto more lawsuits, because like I said earlier, he's just going to win those every single time he files them. So it's not brain surgery, that particular one. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But personally, I think time is on our side at the moment for some people to get processed. But if you're concerned, you want to sort of jump the queue, then get ready to participate in a lawsuit with Curtis Morrison, perhaps. Matthew, will they interview the DV 2021 case numbers that have passed? Yeah. So take the case of EU, for example. I can't remember, it went from 12,000 to 18,000, right? So the people that were current in previous months, back to October, November, December, etc., they are now exactly the same as people that are current with the latest numbers up to 18,000. Everybody under 18,000 is eligible for an interview if their embassy is open, they've submitted the DS-260, and they've had their documents processed. And so they'll interview everybody. But that means that third one, documents processed, that means the more people sending in the documents, as I explained earlier, means there's going to create a flood of people that are already current, under 18,000 in the case of EU, that will need to be interviewed in later months as soon as those documents are processed. So that means there's less available interview appointment slots for new cases, and that's why the visa bulletin will slow down, I think. Oh God. Ficadoo. They said documents processing takes 3 to 6 weeks. What, do you believe that? I mean, come on. They obviously don't do that. It's just one of those things they say, but it's not true. There you go. Francisco, how are you? In one of the DV WhatsApp groups I'm in, I saw people posting screenshots of emails to the KCC documents email address and bouncing because it ran out of space. Oh my God, those Muppets! They couldn't organize a piss up in a brewery. I'm not that surprised. I suppose the government always find ways to trip over their own shoelaces, and having their inbox fill up is just, I mean, that's stupid, but yeah, amazing. Thank you for that, Francisco. That's hilarious. So if people send their documents this weekend and they get that bounce response, then yeah, it'll be because of that. But just wait a couple of days and send them again. I'm sure they'll clear it up on Monday or Tuesday or something. But what a ridiculous! Oh God, well, really. There you go, Amand. Take this information from Bundix, a very wise man, and stop spamming, you Muppet. And Farhati, I already answered you to. Abshir, your advice to DV 2021 winner who did nothing who even doesn't submit. Oh, get off your ass and submit your DS-260. Well, I mean, do that. So the only thing I would say is that if you've got a very high case number and you haven't submitted your DS-260 yet, you should probably wait for a few more weeks to just see what happens with the next visa bulletin. And that will be in the early part of April, right? You could still submit your DS-260, let's say mid-April, and get processed in time. But you're going to have to gamble because submitting a DS-260 reveals to the government that you have intention to emigrate to the USA, that you would like to do that. So if you don't become current and your case doesn't get processed for whatever reason, because they don't get to your case number if you've got a high case number, then in the future, if you applied for a non-immigrant visa to go visit someone in the USA or to do education in the USA or something like that, they will have a suspicion that you'll try and overstay your visa and therefore legitimately could deny your non-immigrant visa. It can make life a little bit difficult for you in the future. Now, it's not a complete block of getting your visa in the future. It doesn't mean that you can't get it. It just makes it a little bit harder, right? So, but if you've got a low case number and you want your green card, then go ahead and submit. Thank you, Francisco. You're absolutely correct. Agna, please, apart from DV, there's no other way to enter. So there are other types of immigration. You can do employment-based or family-based. If you don't have someone in your family who is who's already in America, then that's probably out. And if you are not highly qualified, then that's probably out, right? So that's why DV Lottery is such an amazing program. It gives an opportunity to everybody, regardless of their education, etc. Actually, not regardless of their education. They need to have high school education equivalent, but but at least it's not like you have to have a PhD or a master's or something like that. My question is that I have filled DS260 in education. I feel that a training data company is internship. Wrote the data training wrongly. What should I do? Don't worry about it. Don't correct for that. It's a trivial matter. I wouldn't bother opening a DS260. Everybody's chase stream, everybody's case that hasn't been scheduled says the status says at MVC. That's the normal status. It's the starting status. Doesn't mean anything at all, and your case isn't actually at MVC. So you ignore everything you see under that message. There's sort of 6 or 7 steps or something under that message. Ignore the whole thing. It just means your case number hasn't been scheduled yet. Hamzel, DV 2021 winner, submitted DS260. Do I have to wait for KCC? No, send your documents. Scuba Jersey, you already asked that. You're current in Asia. When do you expect? Depends whether your documents are processed or not. Charbel. D, someone who's self-employed with no high school diploma, will they qualify to enter the lottery? The business is a registered company. It really depends on the company, on the business. If you have a legitimate company where you employ, let's say, 100 people, right, and you are effectively therefore a CEO or a chairman or an owner of a large company, then you can demonstrate your business responsibilities as being those of a CEO, a very high-level manager of an organization, right? If, on the other hand, you have a lawn mowing business, and it's you and the wife, or you and one other person, and you mow lawns, then owning that business is not at the level required to actually qualify through without education, right? So if you go and look at my blog on my website, I explain that in detail. The difference between qualifying by education, which is one option, qualifying by education, or you qualify by work experience. But when it's work experience, it has to be work experience at a certain level. It's not just any job. It means you have to have a certain level of job. And so, when it comes to an entrepreneur or a business owner, it depends what sort of business they have and what their responsibilities in that business are. Okay. Glad. I've tried to find a sponsor in the UK, so hard, but no chance. Is it okay that having 50k USD? Yeah, it would probably be 50k would probably be enough to satisfy most CEOs. I have seen a CEO ask someone for proof of $125,000, which was stupid and nuts, but that's very rare. Generally speaking, $10,000 to $15,000 per person is the level of savings you should have in order to avoid a concern of public charge. Anish Paddy, yeah. So you have a chance. Your case number's okay. You just have to get your documents processed, and Kathmandu obviously have to open if you're there. Come the Annunciato case, force embassies that are closed to issue visas. Right. No judge is going to force an embassy to open if that embassy is closed for safety reasons. No judge in the world is going to do that. No judge in America, anyway. However, they can tell them to find ways to interview people by Zoom meetings or that sort of thing, and maybe there's other things that can be done. But they can't force the embassy to open at a level that the embassy says is unsafe, right? So, we don't force people to jump off a cliff, just because we say so. Stay home, stay home, stay home. Yeah, absolutely. Tammy Gray, really. I don't know. Please drop your Telegram and WhatsApp link. I don't have Telegram or WhatsApp links. I operate through YouTube, Twitter, blog. Do I really need to do more than that? And I don't give my phone number, obviously, because people would phone me in the middle of the night and my wife would punch me. Right? She would be annoyed if I was getting phone calls in the middle of the night. And I wouldn't blame her. As a Romanian national living in the UK, do you recommend asking KCC to move the case to Bucharest? It depends on timing, right? How soon? How are you current now? Is your case ready for scheduling? If you are, then yes, maybe you should ask to move your interview to a place outside of a banned area. So Bucharest would be okay. So they're not currently processing cases. Yeah. So, like I say, it's timing, right? No, I already explained eating show. DB 2020 is waiting for Gomez, right? The Gomez outcome. How do we make the Moscow culture wake up? Oh, yeah, I know. I have no idea. I think things are getting better. I mean, people just need to be. I know you've all waited. You've all waited a long time, so I feel bad saying this, but you need to be a bit more patient. The reality is, there's big signs. There's a lots of signs that things are rapidly getting better. Both in America and around the world. America is doing very well in its vaccination program against COVID now. That means that they will find ways to make sure people in embassies as well have been vaccinated. And we're looking to switch off the virus. That's improving things a lot. So things are getting better. Some embassies are processing, some aren't. Some are blocked by the Schengen bans. We're working on that. But things are getting better, and even in Moscow, things should get better. Right? Algeria, your DB 2020. So you're waiting for the Gomez outcome, Lunas. Benjamin Rosa, Romania numbers. I haven't received an email. You should ask whether your documents, Benjamin. Not Benjamin. Ben Eamon. Ask KCC whether they're satisfied with your documents or not. Okay. Oh, stop it, Farhati. Amadome. Are there many more 2NLs being sent to many more embassies? Yeah, it's widening. I think we'll see more embassies participating in the next set of 2NLs, which I expect to come from as early as Monday until the end of the month. We should be getting 2NLs in that period, right? And probably in two large batches if they work the same way that they were working before. So there'll be a batch of 2NLs probably this week. And then there'll be another batch of 2NLs just before the end of the month. And I think we'll see more embassies participating in that than we saw for the April interviews that just went out. So that will increase the numbers. But of course, the difficulty will still be in the Schengen area, right? Tell me, I don't know what your question was earlier. Thank you, Simon. You're welcome. Winnie. Yes, Gomez case. That's true. Yes, I've seen your pretty smile before. That's why. Happy Moon Dance. What a great name. Petro is in Chicago now. Another freezing cold place. What the hell are you all thinking? You people know that there's sunshine in the south of America, right? The southern states. California is beautiful. But no, I mean, Chicago, at least I can understand. It's a great city. So enjoy. Good luck to you. Amanda says, is there any other number for phoning KCC? No, there isn't another phone number. One thing you can do is press 0. As soon as you phone, you don't have to listen to all that garbage. Press 0, and if there is someone there, then they'll pick up. But yes, I think at times they're not even picking up. But I'm seeing good signs that KCC are increasing their staffing levels. They're doing more and more work. So I'm hoping that they're going to be back to answering the phone more normally very soon. DB 2021, when the embassy has recently sent me an email asking for a copy of my passport after they fix the interview date. Is that normal? No, it's not, actually. I don't know why they would do that. Did you do anything daft with your passport in the beginning? That is strange. Don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Just comply with whatever they're asking, right? You've asked that before. Titus says, if Pittsfield a good place to start as a DV winner? I don't know where Pittsfield is. I don't know every town and city in the USA. I generally think in terms of states, right? And some of the bigger cities. So I don't know where Pittsfield is. Not sure. My friend case number is 6,000 and yet not received the documents confirmation. Asia, Iraq. Yeah. So I've explained this before, but not every case is processed at the same time, right? So there are cases where the DS-260 takes a long time to process. There are cases where the documents will take longer to process because they're perhaps in foreign languages. They need to be reviewed by someone with expertise. You know, there's differences between cases. And your travel history on your DS-260 will probably complicate things for some cases. So if you're a single person, you've never traveled out of one country, and you've never been married, etc., then your list of documents is very small. But if you're a married person and you've got 2 kids and you've traveled extensively, then you're going to need police certificates from all over the place. You're going to need multiple documents because there's multiple selectees, and that will take longer to process than the first example, right? So the documents and the DS-260 will complicate things. And what they do, by the way, is they review your DS-260, and based on your travel history and your work history and where you say you've been, they'll look at that and they'll say, okay, so based on the DS-260, this particular applicant, I'm expecting 3 police certificates, and they've only given me 1. Why have I only got 1 police certificate? That case is not ready, right? And so that's the problem. They're looking at the DS-260 and then considering the documents you sent through. So in some cases, I've told people to write a letter and scan it saying, I don't have to provide a police certificate from, I don't know, pick your country, but Afghanistan or whatever, for whatever reason, right? Make it clear why you haven't provided that document. Jamal, I'm a foreign national and physically in China. Do you think the geographic plan? Yes, it will affect you. Yeah, the geographic bans are based on physical presence, not your nationality or where you're from originally, etc. Costco, I hate Trump so much, but it appears that Biden hasn't done anything other than lift the Muslim ban. What a stupid thing to say. Biden has achieved so much. It's like unbelievable what Biden has already achieved in the first couple of months of office. And he's done the right thing in terms of the bans, etc. He's done tremendous things. And he listened. When he revoked 10014, it took a long time for him to revoke it, absolutely. But I explained why. He didn't want to just rule by executive decision all over the place. He wanted to get input. And then when he did revoke that, he mentioned DV 2020 in that, and pointed out that people were being held back even though they were approved as immigrants. So he was fair on that. He's done a tremendous thing on COVID. The vaccination numbers have gone through the roof under Biden's leadership. He's just got the $1.9 trillion relief bill that's going to send checks to millions of people in the USA, and all sorts of measures to improve the economy, etc. So Biden hasn't done anything other than lift the Muslim ban. Well, wake up! Like, he's done tons, and I'm not kissing his ass. I don't have. Trump supporters were driving around with their, trucks with Trump flags coming out the back and stuff, like he's some sort of god. Biden is not a god, nor a king, nor a celebrity, nor a superstar. But, I don't worship him in any way. But he clearly is doing more, and more good things than Trump ever did in his life. And he's doing the right stuff. So, I'm sorry you can't see that. Oh, sorry, I missed this one. Any news about the embassies in 2NL? Called Sweden. They were surprised about Algeria started working. Why would they be surprised about Algeria starting working? They said they have no plans for DV interviews. Right, well, they're affected by the Schengen ban. That's why they're not working, which, of course, Algeria has nothing to do with that. Well, they'll get there. We're fixing that. It will be fixed, I do believe. We'll have to wait and see. Sierra Leone is on a visa ban since 11th September 2020. My case will be current in May. Now, Sierra Leone, I have to remember, is that because of the local ambassador's annoyance with the government? I think it was. You'll have to wait and see. I don't know specifically the details on that one or the current up to date. I try and stay abreast of those things, but I don't know specifically. So just wait and see on that one. Jamal, I already answered that. Missed you so much. Can you read my text, please? And Chase Dream, there you go. Hello. I just read it. I read it. Spencer 20, good evening, Brit. I won a green card for 2021. I'm waiting for an interview. How can we read the visa bulletin? On my blog, BritSimonSays.com, I have a fact that is, how do you read the visa bulletin? I've created a video about it. It's on my YouTube channel as well. So, and every month I publish, when the visa bulletin is published, I publish that. And in there's a video in there that says, how do you read the visa bulletin? Can I do more than that? I mean, other than coming around your house and telling you exactly how to read the visa bulletin, could I do more than that? I'm being cheeky, of course. Belisham, I changed my last name, married, but not my passport yet. Can I use the current passport? Yeah, you should. I would suggest you can use your current passport, yes. But I would suggest this is a really good time to go change your passport, and therefore the documentation you get as part of this process, the green card, and I'm thinking specifically about that, the green card will then be in your new married name. So you could use the old passport, but I suggest you go out and get a new passport so that your documentation is correct going forward and in America. Then it's just easier that way. Don't forget to replace the green card. It's about $500 and something, I think. So it's not inexpensive. So you want to make sure the plastic green card you get has the right details. No, I'm not going to. Hamza, I can't predict that. It's nothing to do with the numbers. It's to do with the time we have remaining, what happens in the lawsuits, what's happening in each embassy for the sake of COVID, etc. There's a lot more factors. It's not a mathematical calculation. If I was calculating mathematically, I would say yes, 24K is a high number, particularly because the Muslim ban was revoked, and therefore many thousands of people, about 7,500 people with case numbers lower than yours, were suddenly enabled to get their visas, right? So yes, it's a high number, but I can't predict anything. I don't know what the impacts have been for all of those factors I just mentioned. Which date will result out of DV lottery intake? Abiril, I'm struggling with the question there. No, I don't know what that question means. I'm sorry, Abiril. See if you can reword it. Can we get some information about DV 2022? Okay, Wayne. This is a lottery. Your chance of getting selected in the lottery is depending on where you're from, roughly 1 in 100 years or 1 in 200 years, somewhere in that range, apart from if you're in the Oceania region. So, for that reason, I always say, look, don't ask questions on DV 2022 other than when is the results out, which will be May. Should you be asking questions and preparing for that? No, because your chance of selection is very, very small. It's more or less a once in a lifetime chance. So you shouldn't, waste any time thinking about it until you know you've been selected. Okay. E38XX. Should I wait and see DV? No. Why would you? Do you mean so, Luca? I think maybe you're missing an X. If you mean your case number is 38,000, then yeah, you should probably wait for the VB process next month. But you'll be taking a risk either way, I think. Frankly, if you sent your DS260, there's no harm in sending your documents. Right? You won't do more damage by sending your documents. So if that's your position, even at 38,000, go ahead and send your documents. Why not? Fabrice Mulumba official, not the fake Fabrice Mulumba. Can I ask KCC to change my location of interview from Congo and living in South Africa? You can. They normally ignore your selection choice, and they schedule the interview based on your current residence. So if you are, if you can say that you've changed your address back to Congo, then you'll get an interview there. You can do that, or you can ask them, can they schedule you in Congo? Because it's your home country, they may do that. It's your choice. Jamal, I answered your question. Fahati answered your question. Oh my God. How many times? Eating show. Oh, yeah. So I'm having to scroll through, especially, I'm having to scroll through all of the spam posts. That's what I'm having to scroll past them. It just messes things up. Especially if they no longer need the I-134 and 5540, what would you advise to carry that to the interview? No, I didn't. So the 5540 is no longer needed. I did not say the I-134 is no longer needed. I suggest you do take the I-134 to the interview. If you don't take that, at least take financial documentation. So the 5540 is not needed. 134 still required. They've not stopped all of the public charge concerns. There's always been a public charge concern. What was blocked recently, what was finally put to death recently, was the nonsense that Trump tried to introduce. That was very specific. This one is, do you have a chance from 9095 visas? You just have to wait and see what the outcome of the Gomez case is. They're arguing for more than 9,095 visas to be available. And we're also waiting for the final outcome. We don't know for sure that those cases are going to be safe, right? How tough will the interview be? What questions are asked? People that have been through an interview, and I have on my blog, I have interview experience stories. If you Google BritSimon interview experience, you'll see a bunch of stories from people who sat through interviews before. The interviews are amazingly easy. As long as you haven't lied, as long as you've provided all your documents, etc. The interviews last maybe 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes. Nothing much more than that. I very, very occasionally hear of an interview that lasted longer than that, but very, very rarely. And they're just looking to qualify your documents, and it's a very quick interview. And the questions, you don't prepare for the questions. The questions you should be able to answer like that, right? You don't ask me or ask anyone else, if I'm asked this, what should I answer? Because that shows that you're trying to prepare for the question. You shouldn't have to prepare for the question. You should just answer the question honestly. So just be honest, answer whatever questions they ask. They might ask 1 or 2 very innocent questions, nothing much, and your interview will last a few moments. You'll be amazed how quickly it goes. You submitted the DS260 a week after the 2021 winners. That's back in June. EU 39,000. Is there anything you can do at this point? You have to just wait. You have to wait for your document confirmation email, etc. Your case number is very high at 39,000. I didn't even think it went that high, but there's nothing you can do to speed things up other than just waiting. I think this is DV 2022. I think the results are going to be out in May. That's the time they're supposed to be out. Nor Afghanistan embassies. Yeah, I don't know. Afghanistan is obviously going to be a problem, and I don't know, what we can do to improve that. Oh wow, I just seem to skip past a bunch of questions there. Oh, it's this spamming thing. Okay, so Bright, please, my date of birth and my passport is different from my senior high school. The date of birth is confirmed by your birth certificate and your passport, not your high school stuff. That's just what the high school thought, so that's not important. Is there any problem if you include case number EU in the subject line? No, that's what you're supposed to do. If you include it. Yeah, that's Dusko, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just put your full case number, as you've written there, with the zeros and the numbers, in the subject line and there's no need to put anything else in the email. You don't have to put anything else in, so that's fine. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what the instructions say. What is the high case number on those who already get the 2NL? I don't know. Any case number that was current could have got the 2NL. I have the file, but oh, maybe I got it open actually. Yeah, I do. Hang on a second there. Let's see. So you didn't say which region, but let's see. So the highest case number that got the 2NLs for April interviews, 16237 for Africa. Asia is 5074. EU was 10,384. OC highest case number was 1,080. And SA, South America, was 1385. They're the numbers. Okay. I just happen to have the file open there. Alcatraz infection. Is it a problem to unlock the DS260 after sending the scanned document that's not receiving a confirmation email? No. Depending on what you change, the reason for your unlock, it may or may not affect your documents. If you've changed your name, then presumably there's going to be a new document. But generally speaking, it doesn't affect the documents at all, so it's fine. And it's much better to unlock your DS260 and have it accurate on the main things that are in there than leave it inaccurate. If you've made a serious mistake in there, correct it. My council where I'm living is not processing. Council, your consular, okay. However, they are processing all other immigrant visas. Okay, just wait a little bit. They will probably start processing DV. Maybe in May, if not May, probably June. Okay. A backlog is flying over the roof. Any updates for interview waiver for DV 2021? Not interview waivers as such, but I agree with you. The backlog is probably growing. It's risky. Camille, okay, a few more questions, then we'll call it a day. I have a green card. I asked for my wife for a visa 2019. Yeah, it takes sponsoring a spouse takes a couple of years. You have a green card. You ask for a visa. Nothing's moved. I don't know how to work. I have to be in the USA for 6 months, not to lose my status, and she follows me. You need to be applying for her when you're living in the USA. So you need to find a job or get a job or whatever, start your life, and then bring your spouse. But it takes a while. It takes a couple of years. So it's a bit of a nuisance. You lost your passport after submitting a DS260. You'll have to replace your passport, get the police certificate report or whatever, or the police report of replacing your passport. If you lost your passport, in my country, at least in most countries, you're supposed to report that to the police. So, get that police report that you reported it, if that's the case in your country. Get your new passport and send that document to KCC. EU is 18,000, I think. YK nothing, but read the visa bulletin. Okay. In your DS260, I always tell people to answer that question no. I don't know why people choose yes. The question in the DS260 says, do you have the documentation to prove that you have all the vaccinations? And it's the documentation to USA standards or something. Why would you answer that question yes? It's beyond me. The reality is, everybody should answer that question no. But it honestly doesn't matter whether you answer it no or yes. It doesn't make any difference. Nobody looks at that question. It's not important to your process. It won't get you in trouble in any way. Okay, so don't worry about it, even though no was the right answer. I'm Ghana, and my interview location is in Sierra Leone. Currently, they have the visa sanction. Okay, yes, the return of the citizens. That's what I thought. And the ambassador took. The American ambassador said, okay, if you're not going to play by the rules, then we're going to affect you. So you may want to consider going to Ghana, but of course, just remember that Accra embassy is notoriously picky, shall we say, has a very high refusal rate. probably because it sees a high level of fraudulent documents and that sort of thing. But nevertheless, it still seems to be a hard embassy. But you should, probably, if your case is strong and your documents are all solid and you've got no funny business going on, then you could ask to be interviewed in Ghana. Galal, case number is 23K, Egypt. Interviewers in Turkey, embassy not working. I would say just wait a few weeks for cases like this. In general, I would just say wait a few weeks, and see how things change over the next few weeks. I'm quite sure they will. Okay, so AOS 249. Yeah, you're getting close to it. I mean, you could pay the fee if you want and go ahead and do that if you want to gain some time. We're getting close to it. It's a bit of a gamble either way. I don't have a sort of a crystal ball to say exactly what will happen, right? Is MVCs the same as ready for scheduling? No, absolutely not. It's the opposite of that. It means nothing. It means that you may not even have submitted your DS260. Every single case number starts off at NVC, so it means absolutely nothing. Certainly not ready for scheduling. Kazakhstan. Do you think it is kind of their politics? I doubt that. I think it's probably, the US embassy in Kazakhstan isn't interested in localized arguments with, Uzbekistan, etc. They're not interested in that. So I doubt that it's kind of politics. It could be to do with travel restrictions or that sort of thing, but I don't know specifically. But yeah, I don't think America is trying to say, oh no, we don't want Uzbekis here. I don't think that's true. Thank you for that kind comment, Shabazz. That's nice. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down, randomly pick one or two more, and then we'll call it a day. This one, Yang, send your documents. Don't wait to be asked anymore. Send your documents, okay? And that applies to everybody. People need to send their documents in, right? So we're going to see, hopefully, we'll see increases in staffing levels at KCC so they can move documents through. But we definitely need to get documents sent to them now, okay? Here's a question that hasn't been asked today. I get my police certificate in August. Should I get a new one prior to interview? I always explain to people the police certificates are valid for up to 12 months, even if the document itself or the country says that their police certificates are only valid for 3 months or for 6 months. The US immigration process accepts them up to 12 months. Having said that, if it's easy enough to get a new police certificate, then get a new one prior to the interview. There's no harm in that, right? And usually it doesn't cost very much money, if anything. So go ahead and do that so you can reduce the chance of any difficulties. Okay. Okay. Last one here. You've made a mistake on your wife's mother's name. You don't make a mistake of annoying your mother-in-law. That's just the first thing. That's a silly thing to do. It makes life very difficult for yourself. But if you've made a mistake on your wife's mother's name when completing the DS, send the documents, does that mistake disqualify you? No, it'll just get you in trouble with the wife, that's all. But no problem with your process. I don't really care about the parents. I got a question this morning from someone saying, similar sort of thing. I think it was about a death certificate on the parents, but they don't really care about the parents. They have to go on the form, but it's not important what's on the form. Okay. Okay, I think that's probably it. Last question, Sweshi, for you. So if you've got between 10,000 and 20,000 for a single person, that's usually enough to prove that you'll be financially okay. It also, to some extent, especially, it depends on your, what sort of employment you have. Let's say you filled out that you work in IT. They know that you're going to get a job. If you work in IT, you're going to get work, right? I mean, there's plenty of jobs available, and so they're going to think, okay, he's got $10,000, $15,000 in his bank account, and he's working in IT. That's good. He's going to be okay, and he's a single person. If, on the other hand, you had a job which is, I don't know, let's say you're a silly haircut. Let's say you're an astronaut and you filled out that you only want to be an astronaut. Well, it's pretty hard to get a job as an astronaut, right? So you're likely to be, not doing so well. Maybe something a bit more realistic. You're an actor, right? That means you're probably going to go to LA because you want to be an actor. And a lot of people serving food in restaurants in LA are actors. So you're going to struggle, right? Is what I'm trying to say. So there you go. With any amount of savings, they would consider you to be more at risk. So it sort of depends on the case, especially. That's what I meant. So there you go. You're welcome. Okay, thanks everyone. And Grace, just want to welcome you as a silent listener. A lot of people do that. They don't ask the questions, but they learn from the questions. And that's one of the reasons I prefer to answer questions not through private emails, by the way. Because if I answer a question for someone in a private email, it helps one person. If I do this online, or if I answer questions on my blog, etc., it helps many people. And so that's why I do it this way. So, okay, thanks everyone. I'm going to call that a day. Quite a long video today, and so call it a day. But look out for a couple of videos from me in the next couple of days. I've got a relatively quiet weekend. I was traveling last weekend. I've got a quiet weekend, so I plan to record 2 and I think maybe now 3 videos this weekend, and I'll release them over the next few days. The DS261 I mentioned about, for people struggling with that, and also the information about the Muslim ban. And I've asked, let me just check. I've reached out to the lawyers. Yeah, I'm waiting for answers back from a couple of the lawyers on other actions they may take against the Schengen ban situation, in addition to what Curtis Morrison is doing. So we'll see whether other lawyers are going to do similar things, or whether what the feeling is there, right? Because obviously, I'll leave you to decide. As I mentioned earlier about Curtis's suit, he is going to win that. There's no doubt about that. He's going to win that suit, but it's expensive, $3,000, right? $1,000 up front and then $2,000 later. It's not expensive compared to what lawyers charge. And if you're talking about a lawsuit which is more or less a guaranteed win, it's not expensive, right? But at the same time, it's not an insignificant amount. It's something you need to be thinking about, and does that suit your budget? Okay, that's going to be it. Thanks everybody for joining me this morning, and please do go visit my blog, and continue to ask questions there. If I didn't get to your question today, I'm sorry, but you can go ahead and ask that question on my blog, and I'll answer it there. It's easier for me to do that there. And please make sure give this video a like, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel. All right, thanks everyone. Bye bye now. Keep well.